Hello and welcome to the first video in my how to play Star Trek Frontiers. I chose this game for my first how to play because it's a game I've wanted to play for a very long time, but have not had the opportunity to as of yet. We're going to use the Star Trek Frontiers game walkthrough guide for our first playthrough. It uses a simplified version of the rules that I think will make things go quicker and will give us everything we need to know. Now this first video is going to be just about components. I wanted it to be about components and setups, but I did that video and it was too long. It went about 25 minutes, and I want these videos each to be a little shorter than that. So we're going to go through, I'm going to go through the walkthrough. They list all the components in order, and we're going to talk about those. Then in the next video, we're going to go through the setup. Now, I'm also not going to, it's not going to be a review of the game. I like it because I'm playing it, and if you're here, I'm going to assume you like it as well. If you want a review, there are a ton of really good reviews out there on the internet about this, but it's a really good game, suffice it to say. So the first thing we're going to go over are the tiles. Tiles are split up into the starter tile, basic exploration tiles, and high threat tiles. And because I had initially done the setup already, there are 3 high threat tiles already in that setup there. Now these are basic, they're going to be in every game. Generally you're only, I think, going to have about 3 of these. Now you can play this game in a number of different scenarios, so that may change. But for this initial walkthrough, we're actually only going to have 3 of these 8 tiles. And the difference is, some of these tiles have Borg cubes, and some of them do not. The initial purpose of this first game is discovering what's causing this disturbance in this unknown region of space, and surprise, surprise, it's a Borg cube. So when we get to setup, we'll see how that works out. So the starter tile has just black. The basic tiles have a blue. So as far as I know, in almost every scenario, you're going to use all the blues and a select number of these high threat tiles. Let's see. What else? What is next? Next, there are a number of tokens that come in the game. And you're going to see some of these tiles have certain symbols. Like you can see on this one, there's a bird of prey marker. Well, there's also a token that corresponds to that symbol. So when you flip a tile and it has that symbol, you drop a token on it. And what that token represents is it's a random enemy. In this instance, it's a random warbird, rather. It's a random warbird. And so you flip the token over, and these shows its stats, and the stats are different depending on the token. And as you can see, I've got them off screen, but there's a healthy stack of tokens just for the warbird symbol. You've got Borg cubes, Borg spheres, space stations, and planets. Those tokens are all included in there as well. Next, we have the ship deck, which is comprised of action cards. You can tell action cards because they all have these blue backs. Now, there are 3 types of cards that can make it into your action deck. Each ship, and there are 4 different ships, comes with a set of 16 action cards that are all the same, except they have a symbol in the upper corner that corresponds to what ship you shuffle them into. So it just makes sorting them very easy. And the 17th card is the captain, which gives a unique ability for that captain. For this initial walkthrough, we're going to be using the Enterprise and the Bird of Prey. So we got Lursa and B'Etor, and Picard as our captains. Other than that, the other cards are all the same, except for this deck, they have the red Bird of Prey symbol in the upper right-hand corner. Now, they also have advanced action cards, which we put on the left side of the experience board. These are just more powerful versions of basic action cards that you'll have the opportunity to get throughout the game. And now when you play these cards, you're going to have a number of cards in your hand. You just lay it down, and you can play the top part for free. You have to power the bottom part with data, which you get from either these dice or these data crystals that you'll collect throughout the game. The other type of card you'll have in your ship deck are these, they call them undiscovered cards. These are really unique, special, and powerful cards that represent anything from, this one is advanced research. I also saw in there's like telepathy, empathy, all kinds of cool stuff. And then these also have the blue back, but I put them face up so they're easy to distinguish, are damage cards. Whenever your ship takes damage, these go into your hand. Now, as you can see, you have to keep the advanced action cards and the undiscovered cards separate, and they suggest putting the advanced action cards on the left-hand side of the board and the undiscovered cards on the right-hand side. Every game, so you just always know, okay, those are advanced action, those are undiscovered, and you're also going to have a pool of cards underneath them that players can choose from later in the game. Now, there are a number of other cards. You see these are crew cards. You'll be able to recruit crew to your ship. Here's data. Now, it doesn't matter. Data could be recruited to this bird of prey. It doesn't really matter. They don't... It's not... and there's actually even Romulans in here and Cardassians. So, they're not that picky. Keep in mind, this is an unknown region of space. The bets are all kind of off. Now, that's the basic crew cards. Those are the only crew cards we'll be using in this initial walkthrough. There is also a deck of advanced crew cards that we won't be using. These are really powerful people, really powerful crew members that also include Borg, which is kind of cool. But we're not going to use those here. If this goes well, I might do a more advanced playthrough at a later time, or just record my group doing a playthrough. So moving on swiftly, there's also tactic cards. These are the other really important cards. These will determine in what order you do things in a game. There's the initiative card 1 through 6, and it's lowest to highest. So if you have initiative 1, you will go first. If you have initiative 6, you will definitely go last. Odds are in a 4-player game, potentially 4 would make you go last or whatever. Now, the earlier you go, the advantage is you get to go early, but there's no special ability. The later you go, you start getting special abilities, and the further down the deck you go, the more powerful the ability is that you get to do. Like, it's on, if you decide to take Timing 6 card, one time this round during your turn, you can announce that you will take another turn immediately after this. If you do, flip this card face down. So you're going to go last, but you're going to get 2 turns, which is kind of cool. There's a number of reference cards that come in the game that we're not really going to touch on, except for you'll need this card for the end of the game to tally up end reputation points. And every captain has a card specific to them. Hoping I have enough daylight to at least get a few of these videos out, because I just can't get lighting in here that doesn't glare off the top of this table, and I don't want to tear everything apart and put a tablecloth down right now. So we'll deal with this until such a time as I think it's too dark. There's also away team tokens and wound tokens that you can put on your captain card. Now in the player section, you're going to have your basic action deck. You're also going to have this stack of tokens that show a number of different things based on whatever experience level you are. So if you go at the bottom, this token exists for levels 1 and 2, and it shows, I believe, your command skill and your hand size. So this, your level 1 captain, level 2 version of your captain has a command rating of 2 and 5 cards in his hand. You're also going to have these stack of skill tokens, and that's where these cards come back in, because these are where you'll reference what the skill token does. You're going to have a number of these little tokens here that'll be used for various things, and you're going to have your away token that you put on the board for away missions. You're going to have your miniature, which starts off the board, but will be put on the board in the first turn, and you're going to have your ship card where you'll store things like data crystals and whatnot. And I've got one of those on each side of the board, one for the bird of prey and one for the Enterprise. Oh, what else? What else did they show here? We've gone over that. And a lot of these we'll get more into when we use them. Right now, I just want to give everybody a brief overboard of all the components that we have here. This is the Experience and Reputation board. So as you can see, there's an Enterprise token and a Bird of Prey token up there. As you get experience, you'll move that along the board, and your level is based on what level you're on. So you start at level 1. When you get 3 experience, you're going to drop down to the second level, so that means you're level 2, and on to level 10. This is also your reputation, which will fluctuate from 0, positive, to negative, depending on actions that you take throughout the game. This is the data core board. It's going to store the dice for data. It also has the movement points for what it costs to move across the board. So to move into an empty space costs 2 movement points. Now you'll also see some of these will have red X's just across the entire hex. You cannot move into these squares. If it has a red X in the bottom, like in that sun, it means you can move through it, but you cannot end your move on that square. If you do, you take a point of damage and move back to your last legal position. Let's see. There are also these data tokens and the data dice, which they do the same thing. They generate colors of energy that you can use to power action cards and do various things. And generally, you'll just be taking dice from here and using it for something, but occasionally you'll be able to convert one of these dies into a data crystal to store on your ship that you can use at a later time. And again, we'll get more into that as we use them. And that's really it for the component section of the game. That's everything you're going to get in the game for the most part. We're not using everything. And the box is phenomenal. The last component I'll show is actually the box itself. The box that they send this in is really just amazing. And this didn't come, everything was pre-punched out and put into this little like poker chip type thing. I didn't have to punch anything out. They did all that for you, and they store it right in here. You've got this nice little spot where you can store all your cards. In this section, you store your space tiles. So they did a really, really oops, I've had it off screen. You store your space tiles in here, and you store your cards in here. You've got this little poker chip tray for all your little tokens. And then you have this tray here for all the miniatures. So WizKids did just a fantastic job in giving you a great box to store everything in. And we're moving on to 13 minutes. I think that's a good length of time for this video. I think we went over everything important. I'm going to try to fix the lighting and hopefully move on to the next video, which will show how to set up our first game. Thank you.